Oh my god, it's the start of a new year. Hey y'all, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are picking out my first TBR for 2022, and I am freaking out a little bit that it is a new year. I really don't know what to think about 2022, but we're gonna start it off hopefully with a bang by picking out my TBR out of my jar. I've switched up my jar. I've switched up all of the prompts in the jar. But if you haven't seen one of my TBRs before, I will link December's up in the cards. But I pick prompts out of this jar. These just have generic reading prompts on them, and they help me pick books off of my TBR. The one rule being that I need to own it in some capacity. So whether it's an audiobook, a Kindle Unlimited book, an ARC, or whatever physical book, I just need to own it in some way. It just helps me so that I'm not always prioritizing new releases, which I kind of do anyways. But this kind of pushes me to read some of the books that I already own. So for the month of January, I have a couple of things that I want to include in this TBR. The first being the Buzzword Readathon. I'm gonna pop up the challenges, the monthly challenges up here. I am going to try and hit every single prompt this year. I totally failed in 2021, but I'm going to try in 2022 to hit each one of these. So I do have a book set off the side for January. We'll see if I can get it into this TBR. If not, I will let you know at the end what that book is. The other things that are happening this month are the Romance Weekend Takeover, which is hosted by Jen from the Book Refuge and a whole bunch of guest hosts. Again, I will pop up some of the prompts and stuff up here. This is kind of like a build your own TBR, and there's a bunch of like romance tropes and stuff that you can hit if you would like. I have I have an idea for how I want to do this readathon, but if I can get some romance books onto this TBR, I will. However, I am planning to do a whole separate TBR for this and a vlog. I'm not too focused on this during this TBR, but this is something that is in the back of my mind for the month because I am planning on participating in this. And then the first week of January is Winterween, and I do have one book that could hit pretty much all of the prompts for Winterween. If I can get that one on the TBR, I am going to like loosely participate. I'm not going to like vlog or do a TBR or anything like that, but I might kind of loosely join in with my one book if it gets onto the TBR. Other than that, I have a couple of arcs that I want to get to in January. I don't have a whole ton for January. I have a lot for February and March, but there are a couple that I need to get to for January. And then I have two vlogs that I am planning for January as well. I don't want to tell you quite what they are, but those books might get on the TBR. I just won't tell you which ones are for the vlog. But I do have some books set off to the side over here, like some notes for things that I want to include onto this TBR if possible. Other than that, I don't really know what I'm in the mood to read. I'm filming this on I think it's like the 28th, and I'm in this really weird reading spot where it's like I don't know what to read right now because I've finished all my TBRs and stuff. There's only 4 days left of the year, and I'm like, what do I read? So I don't really know. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I don't know where to go from here. So depending on what we pick, I might just start diving into my January TBR today. We'll see. But I'm thinking I'm going to start with 8 prompts. I'm thinking that's where I'm going to go. But we'll see what books we get picked, things like that. So without further rambling, let's just get right into the TBR. So, prompt number 1 is going to be, let's go with, oh my gosh, they're all stuck together. These are brand new. I rewrote them. This one is to read an audiobook. So for a audiobook, I am going to go with a reread in preparation for the new book that is coming up in January, and that is the Fortuna Sworn series by KJ Sutton. I absolutely adore this series, and book 4 is coming out, I believe, January 4th. And I really want to reread the first 3 books in this series if I can. I have a pretty good memory of like what has happened in the series, but I do want to like reread them and like catch all the little details before going into the 4th book. And these are all available on audio through my library. I am going to put this first book onto the TBR for those of you that don't know. I have just talked about this series, but This is an adult fantasy romance series that is following Fortuna. She is a nightmare and she can look into people and find their greatest fear and then turn it against them. And in this first book, she is like setting out to try and find her brother who has been missing for a couple of years. And she is confronted by this fae who says that he can help her find her brother. All she has to do is come back to the fae court and marry him. So she ends up marrying this fae guy who turns out to be a fae prince. And it kind of goes from there. I really want to reread this whole series before Beautiful Nightmares comes out in January. Prompt number 2 is this one is a book that has been recommended or is really hyped. So for recommended or hyped, I'm going to go with Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. This is the first book in the Bergman Brothers series, I believe. This has been actually recommended to me by a lot of people, and this also fits the buzzword prompt for January, which is who, what, when, where, and why. This fits for a couple of different things. I have had this series on my TBR for a really long time because so many people have recommended it to me. And I actually don't know anything about this first book, but I did read The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese in December, and I absolutely loved it. And I know that this entire series features like chronic illness and mental health and neurodiversity rep in here. So that's all I really know about it. I believe this one might be a college romance and it might be like an enemies to lovers, but I'm not positive. But this is going to be the next book on this list. I'm really excited to start diving into this series and Chloe Leese's backlist because just I've heard such amazing things. Prompt number 3 is let's go with this one. And this is to read a book that starts with the letter. So I have to go grab my laptop and find a random letter generator and then pick a book that starts with that letter. Okay, so I have my laptop here and we are going to generate a random letter and we have the letter Y. Love that for me. Okay, so weirdly enough, I do have something on my TBR with starting with the letter Y, and it is Yours Insatiably by Aveda Weiss. And I wasn't originally going to read this month, but I do really want to read it. So here we are. I know literally nothing about the plot of this book. However, I read the like prequel novella, which was Feed, and I absolutely loved that novella. So all I really know about this is it is an enemies to lovers office romance, kind of like Forbidden, and you are following a girl who is a succubus and she is hiding the fact that she is a succubus, and her like Mothman boss kind of they they are working on a project together and she feels like he is always undermining her, and she ends up hiring through this app somebody so that she can feed, and he ends up showing up and the two of them have this really steamy night, and this is their full-length novel, and I am really excited because I loved the novella so much. So this is what I'm going to be reading. This is going to be the one of these exceptions to I don't already own this. I do need to purchase this, but I don't have a lot of books that start with the letter Y. So we're rolling with it. We're letting the prompts dictate this TBR, I guess. And so that's going to be the next book on January's TBR. Prompt number 4 is going to be, let's go with this one. And this is the rainbow prompt. So now I need to grab a color wheel and find a random color. Okay, so I have my laptop here with the spinner wheel and we are going to spin, and we got the color purple. Specifically says deep purple, but we're just gonna go with purple for this color. For purple, I have Neon Gods by Katie Robert here, but we are gonna go with Electric Idol. This cover is very purple. This is the sequel companion to Neon Gods, and this comes out sometime in January. Again, I'm breaking my rule here because technically I get denied an arc of this, but I really want to read this book. It's going to get read right away in January, so I'm putting it on this list. This is part of, I think, my most anticipated list anyways, so I'm really trying to prioritize the books that are on my like 22 books to read in 2022 and most anticipated and all of those things so that I'm actually finishing those lists. So I'm cutting myself a little bit of slack with this one. And we're putting Electric Idol onto this list. Again, I don't know much about the plot of this because this is a Katie Robert book. It's going to be a very heavy on the steamy romance, but I believe this one follows Psyche and Eros, and that's literally all I know. It takes place in the same world as Neon Gods, which is kind of like this really loose fantasy-esque setting, not super fantastical. So this is the next book on the TBR. We've pulled 4 prompts and I've broken my rules on half of them. So prompt number 5 is going to be this one. And this is to read a backlist title. For a backlist book, I am going to go with The Ravens by Daniel Page and Cass Morgan. This is going to be another reread for me. I have already read The Ravens, but The Monarchs comes out in January and I really want to read that, and I want to reread this one before I pick up the conclusion. I listen to these on audio. This is kind of like a new adult-esque fantasy series. These main characters are in college. You are following this sorority house of witches. You're following 2 main characters. One of them is like trying to become the president of the sorority, and the other one is rushing for the first time, and she doesn't know that she is a witch, but she ends up becoming a part of this sorority of witches and discovers that she has magical abilities. And there is kind of like this mystery element in here because somebody has died and they think something is now haunting them, and it's just magical and witchy and fun, and who doesn't want to be part of a sorority of witches? So I remember really liking like where this series or this first book ended, and so I'm excited to see how it all wraps up in the final book. Prompt number 6, we're gonna let's go with this one. And this is to read a young adult book. For a young adult book, I am going to go with Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves by Meg Long. And I have this as an arc. It comes out January 11th. And I'm just going to read the little blurb here. It says that it's a captivating debut about survival, found family, and the bond between a girl and a wolf that delivers a fresh twist on a classic survival story. On a frozen wasteland of a planet, a girl is on the run with a wolf who is born to be a killer, but bound to be her guide. As they fight to escape ice goblins, giant bears, and a ruthless leader intent on trapping them both, one question drives them relentlessly forward. Where do you turn when there is nowhere to hide? It sounds like the perfect book for a January read. It comes out super soon, so I want to get it read and reviewed. And this cover is really, really pretty. Prompt 7, we're gonna let's go with this one. And this is a wild card, so I can pick any book that I want, no prompt necessary. For this, I'm just gonna get this right on the TBR, and it's Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. I've talked about this in every single video I have filmed recently, so I'm not gonna go into the synopsis of this. It's an adult romance. I am vlogging this. It comes out right away in January. I am super, super excited for it. That's gonna be the next book on this TBR. And then our final prompt for January, let's go with this one. Hopefully it's a good prompt. And this is to read a book by an author I already know that I love. So I have a couple of options here. I could put the next Fortuna Sworn series on here. I could pick the Veronica Speedwell series because I really want to catch up with this. I want to reread Crescent City before the new book releases. I'm not going to hold that one up because it's really thick. And then I also have Queen by Katie Robert, which is the end of a series, and I really want to prioritize closing out series. But I think I'm gonna go with the Veronica Speedwell. This is an Unexpected Peril. This is book 6 in the series, and this is actually the book that fits for I think like all of the Winterween prompts because there is a snowy setting on here. This is a mystery sort of story, so it would fit for like the thrills and chills prompt. I don't remember what the other ones were, but I remember the snowy setting one. This is going to be my loose participation in Winterween for the first week of January. This is a historical mystery series with a really, really slow burn romance. It's fun, it's witty, it's super adorable. I love their romance and banter, and I just really love how the mysteries are crafted in this series. This one follows a character who is she dies mysteriously. She's a mountaineer and she dies mysteriously, and Veronica believes that she was murdered, and she kind of enlists Stoker to help her solve the mystery. I did start this one back in 2021, but I never ended up finishing it because I was listening to it on audio. Oh, here, my bookmark is actually still in here. I was listening to an audio, and I'm just not the biggest fan of the audiobook for this series, so I'm going to read this one physically. And then I do have an arc of book 7, which comes out. It comes out in like February or March. I can't remember which one. So I really want to read this one in January before book 7 comes out. Okay, so that is it for my TBR prompts. I have 4 books physically here, or 3 books and 1 holding, and then I have a couple of ebooks. There are a couple of other books that I know that I am going to read this month. First up being Queen by Katie Robert. This is on my winter TBR. It is super duper short, and I really want to prioritize in 2022, like actually closing out some series that I have. I have like a whole list in my planner here of series that I have like dangling open, and this is an easy one for me to close out. So I definitely want to read this in January. I also have an arc of The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, and I'm so excited for this one. This is another book that I've talked about relentlessly in my videos. It's an adult romance. I'm going to be reading it super soon, and I am planning to have a vlog of me reading this coming up towards the end of the month. The other things that I really want to get to are the rest of the Fortuna Sworn series. This is book 2. I also have book 3 off to the side, and then I'm going to pick up Beautiful Nightmares as soon as I can. So these are also on the TBR. I am awaiting for my library hold of the last book of the Girls of Paper and Fire series. Again, I'm really trying to close out series, and this is the 3rd and final book. Once my library hold comes in, I am going to read this. Yes, I have the physical book, I know, but I I want to listen to it on audio, so I'm just waiting for my audio copy to come from my library. And then, like I mentioned, I need to reread this before February, so that I can actually remember what the heck happened before going into House of Sky and Breath, something like that. I think that's what it's called, because I do, like I said in my last video, I take off to read these books, so I really want to reread this so that I can read the sequel right on release date. So that is also on my TBR. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. On top of all of this, I am planning to do the romance weekend takeover. I do have a couple of romances on this TBR, so most likely I will prioritize those, but I have not started like compiling KU books yet for that. I need to do that. This is the ridiculous state of my January TBR on top of a couple more ebooks and arcs. So hopefully I have a good January because I want to read. I want to read a lot. So let me know what you are planning to read in January. Let me know if any of these are on your TBR. If you want to buddy read any books, I am always open for buddy reads. So I will catch you all in my next video. Bye.